Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video on the channel. So with the international break in full swing once again, I was thinking to myself, what is the most topical thing going on at Charlton right now? It is without a shadow of a doubt this man. Lord help me, Jesus. Yeah, this one's not going to be an easy one to film, but we're gonna do it anyway. Today, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be going over my honest thoughts about the man at the helm at Charlton Athletic and my overall feelings on him. Do I back him? Do I have any confidence in him? And if you've watched my latest match reactions, you probably already know that. So I guess we'll kick things off with the very beginning of Adkins' tenure at the club. Of course, it was in March 2021 where Adkins joined the club following the resignation of Lee Bowyer and him departing the club and going to Birmingham. Of course, after Bowyer's departure, the day after Bowyer's departure was a game for us. We played against Bristol Rovers at home. Assistant manager Johnny Jackson took over and he did manage to grab the 3 points in that match as well, despite us going 2-0 down inside the opening 25 minutes. We clawed it back, showed passion, and we played very, very well to win the game 3-2. While a lot of people were sat there hoping and praying, myself included, that Jackson would be given until the end of the season to prove his worth, you know, him become the next Lee Bowyer. But obviously there was a lot of other managers that were linked. Chris Wilder, I think, was one name that was mentioned. Then there was the typical Alan Kirbishley one, which obviously some Charlton fans would be absolutely delighted for him to return to the club, but me personally, not realistic. And then there was Michael Laudrup, who was very, very highly linked with the job. Obviously the Danish connection made sense with Thomas Sandgaard, and he did obviously used to manage the likes of Swansea. Seemingly out of nowhere, Adkins just come along and became head and shoulders above anyone else, the favourite to be manager, and then hours later he was appointed. So it happened fairly quickly, the whole process of us bringing in Adkins, and I think it's pretty safe to say that a lot of Charlton fans, myself included, did raise some level of concern. He has had a good track record of getting out of this division. He's won promotion with Scunthorpe, and obviously what he done at Southampton was incredible. Got them promoted from League One straight to the Premier League. Then he obviously managed Reading as well in the Premier League. They obviously got relegated, but has Premier League experience. His time at Sheffield United was certainly an eyebrow raiser. Worst ever finish in their history, I think, in 13th in League One. But he did turn it around a little bit when he was with Hull City. He established them as a solid mid-table championship side, but obviously due to disagreements with the Allams at the time, he decided to leave the club, and that was his last managerial job before coming to Charlton. That was the main concern for me, is that he'd been out of the game for 2 years. You know, there was questions of, does he still have it? On paper, there were more positives than negatives in regards to Adkins' appointment. It did make a lot of sense, you know, because of the not only of the track record that he had at League One, but also the record he had of bringing through young players. You know, he loved to get the young players involved in the squad, and you could credit him with making players, you know, making the likes of Ricky Lambert, of Charlton having one of the best and most established academies in the country, with so many homegrown talents that go on to be great things. You know, Joe Gomez, Joe Aribo, John Joe Shelby, just to name a couple out of many that have gone on to make it through the Charlton Academy. It was definitely an exciting time, you know, when he was appointed, because we knew that there was a lot of young prospects within the academy that we felt would be deserving of a chance. But going on now to the rest of the 2020-21 season, where of course he took over for the final 10 games of the campaign, and we have to say it was fairly positive, the end of the season. 5 wins, 4 draws and 1 defeat. Started with a 2-2 draw against AFC Wimbledon. That result still gives me PTSD because of that Akinfenwa mistake. We then won 2 back-to-back games. 1-0 win over Doncaster on Sky Sports, redeveloping Ian Martson as he moved in from a left-back to a right wing, which was something that a lot of Charlton fans were calling out for. A lot of people didn't really see him as a fullback, saw him more as a winger. And Adkins played him in that position, and it worked a treat because he scored the only goal of the game against Doncaster to win us that match. And then we followed that up with a 2-1 win over Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, which again was another great result. 0-0 draw of Ipswich, not a bad display. And then of course there was the 6-0 win away from home against Plymouth. That game, we just showed, you know, our attacking quality, and that team, even though it is widely regarded by some Charlton fans as the worst Charlton side there's ever been, which I do strongly disagree with, it did show that it had its quality, you know. Then rather typically we followed that up with a 1-0 defeat against Peterborough, but that was our only defeat under Adkins for the rest of that season. Then there was the 2-2 draw with Crewe, which effectively ended our playoff hopes. Accrington Stanley away was a 1-1 draw. Smash and grabbed that one for the point. Lastminute.com chucks an EK with a late leveller to grab a point. And then we ended the season with 2 very good wins against playoff placed Lincoln and the League One champions Hull City. We beat Lincoln 3-1 rather convincingly in the end, and then Hull City on the final day, when they lifted the League One trophy at the Valley, they ended the season in defeat to us. There was a lot of positives going into the new season with Adkins at the helm. Only 1 defeat from his 10 games in charge. We looked a hell of a lot better. But obviously this season has been nothing short of a disaster. I don't think many people would have really expected us 11 games into the season to be sat in the bottom 4 with only 2 wins all season. It certainly would not have been expected by anyone. No Charlton fans expected it. Well, some Charlton fans expected it. The moaners at the start of the season, they ended up being right, making the rest of us look like right bellends. Just left it far too late when it came to signing players. I know Adkins, I believe Adkins has the final say on transfers, and obviously they were very, very picky when it came to players that we wanted to bring in, but ultimately we were too picky because we waited far too long. There was a 2-week break between us signing Famewo and Clare. Then there was a bit of a break before we signed Charlie Kirk. Then a couple of days later we got Blackett Taylor, and then a week or 2 weeks later we got Elliot Lee, and then on deadline day we brought in 3 players, and then even past that we signed free agents in September. So what we ended up having, rather than having a team that was, completely ready for the start of pre-season, we ended up with a team that were at mixed levels of fitness. And now on the international break, I should fully expect most of the players, if not all of them, are up to speed. They've gelled together, they've got to know everybody, and hopefully they will be fully fit. But it is, way too late. It is far too late than what we probably should have expected it to be. Or Adkins expected it to be. Like I say, he wanted his team ready for the start of pre-season. So going into the season itself, if we're dissecting all of the games, Sheffield Wednesday was the first game. Obviously, the squad was at its very thin bone. We have to say that it was a very, very good point and a good performance, to be fair. I felt that we matched Sheffield Wednesday, obviously a team that we'd expect to be up there this season, or both of us should be expected to be up there come the end of the season. So then we had a cup match against Wimbledon, which I'm not really too fussed by. We lost that by a goal to 0. I don't really care about the Carabao Cup match, but I haven't heard good things. Didn't hear good things about the Oxford game either. I didn't go to that match. We lost the game by 2-1. Did not hear good things about that performance at all. My first game of the season was against MK Dons, where of course we lost 2-1 away from home. And I must say, before that game, I was under the illusion that our squad was good on paper. We'd signed some very good players. At that point, I think we'd signed Charlie Kirk. I felt that we were well on our way to assembling a very good team this season. And then I think that game against MK Dons was a bit of a reality check for me, because I sort of realised, okay, this team definitely is not enough. And the Wigan game didn't help either. We lost 2-0. We haven't done enough. A lot of people were calling out Thomas Sandgaard, saying, get your wallet out, and myself included, get your wallet out and sign some players. And there was also some blame put towards Adkins in terms of the strategy and the tactics that he played, because looking at the games this season overall, and also last season, the main formation that Adkins has played is a 4-3-3. While I do think that formation can work if we play the right players, obviously we've got 1 striker and 2 wingers. You need these wingers to, be able to cut inside and have shots, but also put the ball in the box for the lone striker to score. And in our case, we've obviously got a target man, Jayden Stockley. We need to make sure we can get him the ball in the box, but also play it on the floor to him, because at the end of the day, he is a footballer. He's got to be able to use his feet. While I think that 4-3-3 formation is okay, the way that we've been utilising it this season for the majority has been very bad, and it's been very poor to watch, and that is putting it lightly, to be totally honest with you. The hoofball was staying. It was just, it just wasn't good. The midfield wasn't moving, passing it round the back to the goalkeeper, back to the defenders, punting the ball onto Stockley, who would ultimately either win the header and it just wouldn't go anywhere because no one would latch onto it, or he wouldn't win the header at all. It just wasn't a good system. Pointing the blame sort of towards Stockley, he was saying that, Stockley's the reason we're playing the hoofball. I've told the players I don't want to play hoofball, coming up with this sort of stuff, that the players aren't following his orders, when ultimately the way I see it, Adkins is the manager, he sets up the team, and if you've got a man up top and they're playing hoofball, you work round it. You don't just take him out of the team and single him out. After the Wigan match, of course, was the Crew game where we did see a formation change. We saw a 4-4-2 system come in, which is something more familiar to Charlton fans. I know it was a very poor Crew side, and it was a team that, to be honest, I'm expecting to be in the thick of a relegation battle this year and probably may even go down. It worked. We have to say that it did work, and for the majority of the game we played Crew off the park. Then we had the international break. Before that we played obviously Crawley. We won by 6-1, a spectacular victory for us in that competition that basically means nothing to everybody. We come back from the international break, and then it was just a string of probably the worst games of football I think I've seen as a Charlton fan. Cheltenham at home being the first start, and that definitely was a shock. I don't think any Charlton fan expected us to lose to Cheltenham, and especially in the fashion that we did. I didn't watch the game, but I have just heard such bad things from that game. And we saw another system change, and I don't know why. I don't know why Adkins went from a 4-4-2 to a 4-2-3-1. Again, playing Stockley up front on his own, isolating him, and not giving him the proper support because we're just smashing the ball long and not playing it across the floor. Then we come to the Wycombe game, which I have to say is the worst performance I've ever seen as a Charlton fan. I genuinely do think it is. It took us the 92nd minute to get into the game, and by that point it was just completely dead and buried. There we saw another system change where it went from a 4-2-3-1 to a 5-3-2 or whatever it was. It was just absolutely all over the place, and it was just embarrassing to watch. And that was the first time where Charlton fans were calling on Adkins' head. And that was the beginning of me thinking this guy just doesn't have it anymore. You know, he's lost the manager pedigree. He spent far too long out of the game. He said at the beginning of the season he wanted his team ready before pre-season, and look at where we are now, getting our arses handed to us by Wycombe Wanderers. We're in the relegation zone, second bottom, and he doesn't know our best starting 11, and he's constantly rotating the team, changing formation, experimenting. Then after the Wycombe game we saw bits of improvements. We drew 1-1 with Gillingham and 2-2 with Portsmouth. Gillingham first half battered them, absolutely battered Gillingham. I think we went back to the 4-3-3, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah we did. Yeah, we went to the 4-3-3 system. We had Washington on the wing again, which I don't particularly agree with because I don't think he offers us anywhere near as much as what he does on the left-hand side than what he does in the centre. But nonetheless, he looked very lively in that game, and we were deservedly in front. And then the second half, we just decided to go back to the hoofball again, and we ended up drawing the game, which I can't even be surprised by. And then against Portsmouth, again, there was improvement. Second half was very, very good. First half was embarrassing, hoofball again. And then came probably the killer blow, Bolton at home, which was, we must say, you know, for 70 minutes of that game, we looked very good. You know, we did look a good team. First half was mainly good until Bolton equalised, which was shambolic defending on Matthews' part. And in the second half, nothing really happened until the team just completely collapsed, capitulated, fatigued, and Bolton just battered us and took advantage of that. You know, it was just absolutely embarrassing. And from that point onwards, I think there was just absolutely no way that I could defend Adkins in any way, shape or form. Because like I said, I just saw a manager that tactically didn't have it anymore. He'd been out of the game for far too long, and the game has moved on from people like him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know his best starting 11. He's constantly rotating the squad. The transfer strategy was completely wrong. We've got players at mixed levels of fitness, and you've now got to try and get the best out of them, because ultimately football is a results-based business, and a club like Charlton should not be in the bottom four at this stage. And going into our most recent game in the league against Fleetwood, I was absolutely stunned to see him in his position. We're playing a team that is threatened with relegation this season, and I'm sat there, honestly sitting there with no confidence going into this game against Fleetwood. I did go with an optimistic 2-1 win, to be fair, and I ended up being right. I ended up getting it spot on, and we won the game by 2-1, our second game of the season. And obviously I didn't watch the game, but I have heard very good things from that game. I have heard some very promising things. People were saying that we rarely played a long ball forward to Stockley. We were playing it across the floor. Obviously, Charlie Kirk did come back into the side and got himself an assist. He set up Jonathan Leco's goal, which was a very good finish. Obviously, it did take a deflection, but nonetheless was a very good goal. And obviously, Stockley got the second one. Our last win feels like donkeys ago, to be totally honest with you, but we managed to get the second win of the season. I have heard very good things about the performance, and then obviously we continued that momentum with a 4-1 win over Southampton under-21s last night. It was a very good professional display, played very, very well. And but to be honest, it doesn't really mean anything, because we need to keep this run going. We find ourselves in the same position that we were in at the first international break of the season, because we beat Crew, we then smashed a team in the Papa John's Trophy, had an international break, came back expecting to continue the momentum and start our season, and it was the exact opposite. And it's happened again. You know, we've beat Fleetwood, and we've smashed the Southampton under-21s through to the next round of the Papa John's Trophy. There are some tough games coming up, and we really, really need to go on a run right now. We need to get on the run now, because obviously we are in the bottom 4. We need to climb out of this situation right now, and we need to get our act together. So the results of late doesn't mean anything at the moment. Obviously, they are great results. I'm very happy that we won the game, but they don't mean anything. We need to keep this momentum going. And that now brings me on to the conclusion of this video, the overall feelings. Where do I stand with Nigel Adkins? And the simple answer is really, I'm still Adkins out. I still do not have any confidence within this guy whatsoever. The majority of this season, he has just proved himself to be tactically inept. He doesn't have the pedigree that he had a few years ago. You know, this isn't, you know, his Southampton glory days are ages ago now. So I can say we have looked a lot better. Like the first half against Gillingham, second half against Portsmouth, 70 minutes against Bolton, and then the whole 90 minutes against Fleetwood, and last night as well against the Southampton under-21s. I have heard very good things and have seen very good things. In particular, these last 2 games against Fleetwood and the Southampton under-21s, I've seen us, you know, popping the ball around the midfield, quick one-touch football. Last night, I rarely saw us smash a ball long to Stockley. So hopefully, this is a turn for the better. It did confuse me when I saw us doing that, you know, popping the ball across the midfield and moving for each other against Southampton and even against Crawley as well in the Papa John's Trophy. It just confused me as to why we were doing that against teams that we should really be battering, and we did. And yet we're not doing it against teams that we are competing with this season in League One. In Adkins' case, he really needs to start getting it right. He really needs to continue this form on and turn a corner and start our season properly. Because even though we won against Fleetwood, most Charlton fans, including myself, will be in agreement when they say we still don't have much confidence in Adkins. And the truth is, I don't, because the majority of this season, he's proven himself to be tactically clueless. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know our best starting 11. We've made 28 changes to the side in the last 5 League One matches. That just tells you that he doesn't know his team. He doesn't know what his best 11 is properly. Hopefully, after this international break, he's got a bit of time for the rest of the team to gel. Hopefully, by that stage, by the Lincoln match, everybody will be near enough up to full fitness. Let's see if he can get us on a run, and let's see if he can do it. If he can, fair enough. He's proved me wrong. He has proved me absolutely wrong. So, Fleetwood, that victory, he has been given a lifeline. It's now up to him to keep these results going, get us on a good run of form, and get us up that table. And if he can't do that, Sandgaard's got to sack him. It's as simple as that. So, I'm still Adkins out. Don't have much confidence in him. But if he can get us on a good run, then fair play. I'll accept that I am wrong. So, that is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on those post notifications so you're notified of when I post. Thank you all for the support on the channel lately, by the way. Thank you so much for the support on the previous video, the Bolton video. It was very much appreciated. Thank you all so much for the kind words and support. Where do you guys stand about Nigel Adkins? Where do you guys stand? Let me know. This has been Tyler Owningson. Have a nice day, and I will see you all in the next video. Take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all then.